How to overcome procrastination and get things done. Introduction. The last I'll do it tomorrow you'll ever need. Let's be honest, you picked up this book because of a feeling. It's a heavy, familiar feeling that settles in your stomach when you think about that one thing. Or maybe it's a list of 10 things. The unanswered email that could change your career. The cluttered garage that screams chaos every time you walk past it. The phone call to a loved one you know you need to make. The half-finished project that represents a dream you're slowly letting die. You tell yourself, I'll do it tomorrow. Tomorrow, you'll have more energy. Tomorrow, you'll be more inspired. Tomorrow, the conditions will be perfect. But tomorrow comes, and the feeling is still there, maybe even heavier now with a fresh layer of guilt. The task hasn't changed, but your anxiety around it has grown. This is the quiet misery of procrastination. It's not just about the things you don't do, it's about how the not doing makes you feel. It's a thief that steals your time, your peace of mind, and your belief in yourself. You've probably tried to fight it before. You've made to-do lists that stretch for miles. You've downloaded productivity apps. You've promised yourself rewards. You've probably even tried the old just do it method, trying to force your way through with sheer willpower, only to find yourself exhausted and right back where you started. You may have even called yourself lazy, undisciplined, or flawed. Here is the most important thing you will read in this book, so let's get it out of the way right now. You are not lazy. You are not broken. Your procrastination is not a character flaw. It is a coping mechanism. It is a misguided attempt by a part of your brain to protect you from something unpleasant. Procrastination is not a time management problem. It is an emotional regulation problem. You are not avoiding a task. You are avoiding the uncomfortable feelings you've attached to that task. Boredom, fear, anxiety, self-doubt, confusion. Once you truly understand this, everything changes. The fight is no longer you against your own laziness. The fight becomes you, a smart and capable person learning a new way to handle uncomfortable emotions. This book is your guide to that new way. It isn't about shaming you into action. It's about empowering you with understanding. It isn't about trying harder. It's about working smarter with the way your brain is actually wired. We're not going to use brute force. We're going to use compassion, strategy, and simple, science-backed tools that gently nudge you toward action. Our journey together will unfold in 4 simple parts. First, we will understand. We will look under the hood of your procrastination engine, discover why it runs, and identify the specific gremlins that whisper in your ear, telling you to wait until later. Second, we will reframe. We will reset your mindset, trading self-criticism for the powerful fuel of self-compassion and swapping the impossible goal of perfection for the achievable goal of daily progress. You will learn to rewrite the story you tell yourself. Third, we will act. This is where we build your practical toolkit. You'll learn simple, almost foolproof techniques like the 5-minute Lifeline and how to design your environment to make action the easiest choice. Finally, we will sustain. We will build the habits that make this new way of living stick. You will learn how to celebrate your wins no matter how small and how to get back on track after a bad day, because bad days will happen. Resilience, not perfection, is our goal. This is the last I'll do it tomorrow you will ever need. Because by the end of this book, you won't be the person who puts things off. You will be a person who understands themselves, a person who acts with intention, a person who gets things done. Your future self is depending on you, and the journey to meeting them starts right now on this page. Chapter 1. The Procrastination. Paradox. Why just do it is the worst advice ever. For decades, we've been fed a simple 3-word mantra for success. Just do it. So it's slapped on billboards, printed on t-shirts, and shouted by motivational gurus. It sounds so simple, so powerful, so American. The idea is that the only thing standing between you and your goals is a lack of willpower. If you're procrastinating, you just need to dig deep, grit your teeth, and force yourself into action. And if you can't, well, then the problem is you. You're weak, you're undisciplined, you're lazy. I'm here to tell you that just do it is not only the most useless piece of advice for a chronic procrastinator, it's also the most damaging. It's like telling someone with a fear of heights who is frozen at the edge of a diving board to just jump. It doesn't address the very real, very powerful feeling of terror that is keeping them stuck. It only adds a layer of shame to their fear. Now, not only are they scared, they also feel like a coward for being scared. This is what happens when you tell yourself to just do it. You're already feeling anxious or overwhelmed by a task. When you fail to force yourself to do it, you don't just feel anxious anymore. Now you feel anxious and guilty. You feel overwhelmed and useless. This toxic cocktail of negative emotions doesn't fuel action. It fuels more avoidance. It drains your battery, making it even harder to start the next time. The just do it mindset is the fuel for the vicious cycle of procrastination, guilt, and more procrastination. So, if forcing ourselves doesn't work, what does? The answer lies in understanding the real battle that's happening inside your head every time you choose to watch one more episode on Netflix instead of starting that report. Meet your two brains, the toddler and the time traveler. To make this really simple, I want you to imagine that you have two different brains living inside your skull. This isn't neuroanatomy, but it's a powerful way to understand the internal conflict that leads to procrastination. First, you have your lizard brain. Let's call it the toddler. Its technical name is the limbic system, with a key part called the amygdala. This is one of the oldest, most primitive parts of your brain. Its job is incredibly simple: seek pleasure, avoid pain, and keep you alive right now. It has no concept of next week or next year. It only understands this very moment. It's the part of you that wants the cookie now, wants to stay on the warm couch, and wants to run away from anything that feels hard, scary, or boring. When your toddler brain encounters a difficult task, it throws a tantrum. It screams, "This is yucky, this is scary, I don't wanna. Let's do something fun instead." It's not evil. It's just trying to protect you from discomfort in the only way it knows how. Then you have your thinking brain. Let's call it the time traveler. Its technical name is the prefrontal cortex. This is the most evolved, sophisticated part of your brain, located right behind your forehead. This is the part of you that can think about the future. It understands consequences. It can set goals, make plans, and reason. Your time traveler is the one who knows that finishing the report will lead to a promotion, that cleaning the kitchen will lead to a feeling of peace, and that going to the gym will lead to better health. It is the voice of your future self, the part of you that truly wants what's best for you in the long run. Procrastination is the outcome of a battle between these two brains. It's a civil war in your head. The time traveler says, "We should really get started on our taxes. It's due in 2 weeks and it will be a relief to have it done." But the toddler brain hears taxes and immediately associates it with negative feelings: boredom, confusion, frustration, maybe even fear of owing money. It pulls the emergency brake. It screams, "Danger, unpleasant feelings ahead, abort mission, let's check social media instead, that feels good right now." And in that moment, the toddler wins. Why? Because the feelings it generates, fear, anxiety, dread, are immediate and powerful. The rewards the time traveler talks about, like the relief you'll feel in 2 weeks, are abstract and far away. The toddler brain is all about immediate gratification. It will always choose feeling good for 5 minutes now over feeling great for 5 weeks later. The real reason you procrastinate. It's all about feelings. This brings us to the most important scientific finding about procrastination, a truth that changes the entire game. Dr. Tim Seikel, a professor of psychology at Carleton University in Canada, has spent over 2 decades studying procrastinators. His conclusion is revolutionary in its simplicity. Procrastination is an emotion regulation strategy. Let me say that again. It is not a character flaw. It is a misguided strategy for dealing with challenging emotions. When you are faced with a task that makes you feel bad, whether it's overwhelmed, insecure, resentful, or just plain bored, you have 2 choices. You can either sit with that uncomfortable feeling and work through it, or you can do something else that makes you feel better instantly. Procrastination is choosing the second option. It's a form of short-term mood repair. By putting off the task and watching a funny video instead, you successfully avoid the negative feeling and you get a little hit of pleasure. In the short term, the strategy works perfectly. You feel better. The problem, as you know all too well, is that the task doesn't go away. It waits for you, and while it waits, it gathers more negative energy. You now have the original negative feeling, plus the added guilt of not doing it. Dr. Fuxia Sirois, another leading researcher in this field, has shown that this chronic stress caused by procrastination has real, measurable negative effects on our physical and mental health. It's not a harmless habit, it's a source of genuine suffering. So let's connect this back to you. Think about a specific task you are putting off right now. Don't just think about the task itself. Think about the feeling it brings up inside you. Is it writing a work proposal? Perhaps the feeling you're avoiding isn't writing, but the fear of judgment. The fear that your boss or client will think your ideas aren't good enough. Is it cleaning out the attic? Maybe the feeling isn't cleaning, but the overwhelming feeling of chaos. You don't know where to start, and that feeling of being lost is what you're avoiding. Is it studying for an exam? Perhaps the feeling isn't studying, but the deep-seated boredom of the subject matter. The task feels like a tedious, soul-crushing chore. Is it making that difficult phone call? The feeling you're avoiding is likely the anxiety of a potential confrontation or the discomfort of delivering bad news. The task is just the container. The feeling inside is the real enemy. This is why the just do it approach fails. It tries to attack the container without ever acknowledging what's inside. You can't conquer procrastination until you correctly identify what you are actually fighting. You are not fighting a task on your to-do list. You are fighting your own emotional response to that task. This insight is your first and most powerful weapon. It shifts you from a place of self-blame to a place of self-awareness. It's not, what's wrong with me? It's, what am I feeling right now that's making me want to run away? An actionable step. Name the feeling. Right now, I want you to try something. It's a simple exercise, but it's the foundation for everything that follows. Pick one thing you've been putting off, got it? Good. Now close your eyes for a moment and imagine you are about to start that task. Don't actually start it, just imagine it. Imagine sitting down at the computer or picking up the phone or opening the closet door. What is the very first feeling that pops into your body? Don't judge it, just notice it. Is it a tightness in your chest? A pit in your stomach? A wave of exhaustion? Give that feeling a name. Is it anxiety, fear, self-doubt, overwhelm, boredom, resentment, frustration? Be as specific as you can. Say it out loud if you can. I'm feeling overwhelmed by this project. Or I'm feeling afraid of being rejected. That's it, that's the whole exercise. By simply naming the emotion, you are performing a bit of psychological magic. You are moving it from the driver's seat, the emotional, reactive toddler brain, to the passenger's seat, where your conscious, thinking mind, the time traveler, can look at it. You are externalizing it. It's no longer a vague, terrifying monster controlling you from the inside. It's just a feeling. And you are bigger than a feeling. You can't fix a problem you don't understand. For your entire life, you may have been trying to fix a laziness problem that you never actually had. The real problem was a feeling avoidance problem. And feeling avoidance is something we can work with. It's a skill we can learn, so let go of the shame, let go of the idea that you are broken. You're a human being who has been using a very common, very understandable, but ultimately unhelpful strategy to cope with difficult emotions. Your toddler brain has been running the show to keep you safe from short-term discomfort, at the expense of the long-term goals your time traveler desperately wants to achieve. The rest of this book is about giving your time traveler the tools to soothe the toddler, to listen to its fears without giving in to its demands, and to finally, gently, take the wheel. The paradox is this: the moment you stop trying to just do it and start trying to understand why you don't want to do it, is the moment you finally gain the power to get it done. You are not lazy, you are human, and your journey to becoming an action taker starts not with force but with understanding. Chapter 2. Meet your procrastination. Gremlins, the 6 hidden faces of delay. If procrastination is a battle against uncomfortable feelings, then the first rule of warfare is to know your enemy. The problem is our enemy is often a shapeshifter. The reasons we put off filing our taxes are different from the reasons we put off starting a new creative project. The monster in the closet changes its face depending on the task. To make this easier, We're going to give these shape-shifting excuses a name and a face. We're going to call them your procrastination gremlins. These are the little voices that whisper in your ear, giving you all the seemingly logical reasons why now is not the right time to act. They are masters of disguise, pretending to be voices of reason or caution, when in reality, they are just the spokespeople for your toddler brain's desire to avoid discomfort. When you can identify which gremlin is talking, you strip it of its power. You can see its tricks for what they are. Instead of blindly believing the whisper, you can say, "Ah, I recognize you. You're the perfectionist gremlin again. I know how to handle you." There are many variations, but most of our procrastination patterns can be traced back to one of 6 core gremlins. As you read through these descriptions, see which ones feel uncomfortably familiar. Most of us have 1 or 2 that are our frequent companions. Gremlin number 1, Percy the perfectionist. Percy's motto is, "If I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all." Percy sounds sophisticated. He sounds like he has high standards. He's the gremlin that tells you not to send that email until you've rewritten it for the 17th time. He tells you not to launch your website because the logo isn't quite right. He tells you not to clean the kitchen because you don't have time to deep clean the whole thing, so what's the point of just wiping the counters? On the surface, perfectionism looks like a noble pursuit of excellence, but underneath it's a mask for a deep, paralyzing fear, the fear of judgment. Percy isn't actually concerned with the quality of your work. He is terrified of what other people will think of it. He believes that if your work isn't flawless, it means you are flawed. He equates your performance with your self-worth. So to protect you from the possibility of criticism or failure, he convinces you that the safest course of action is to never finish anything. An unfinished project can't be judged. A work in progress is eternally safe from criticism. Percy's favorite trick is research. He'll convince you that you need to read 1 more book, take 1 more course, or watch 1 more tutorial before you're ready to start. But ready is a finish line he keeps moving. The result is that you get stuck in a loop of endless preparation, never moving on to the actual act of doing. You feel busy and productive, but you are producing nothing. It's a clever, comfortable trap. If you often find yourself thinking, "I need to wait for the perfect time," or "I'm just not ready yet," you're likely hearing the whispers of Percy the perfectionist. Gremlin number 2, Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer. Ollie's motto is, "This is so huge I don't even know where to start." Ollie is the gremlin of big projects and ambitious goals. He shows up when you decide to write a book, start a business, run a marathon, or organize your entire digital life. He takes your beautiful, exciting dream and makes it feel like an impossibly steep mountain with no trail. He points to the very top of the peak and says, "See? You have to climb all of that. It's too much. You'll never make it. Let's just stay here at the bottom where it's safe and maybe watch some TV." Ollie's power comes from vagueness. He thrives on tasks that are poorly defined. A goal like get in shape is a feast for Ollie. What does that even mean? Where do you begin? The sheer number of possibilities, gyms, diets, workout plans is paralyzing. He makes you feel so small and the task so enormous that the only logical response feels like doing nothing at all. This gremlin isn't malicious. He's a product of your brain's natural response to cognitive overload. When your thinking brain is presented with too many options or a task that is too complex, it shuts down. Ollie is the voice of that shutdown. He's the gremlin that has you staring at a messy room, feeling so defeated by the scale of the disaster that you just turn around, close the door and walk away. He turns your inspiring dreams into sources of anxiety. If you have big goals but find yourself frozen in inaction, spending more time thinking about the project than working on it, Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer is likely your constant companion. Gremlin number 3. Wendy the what-if warrior. Wendy's motto is, "What if I fail? What if I look stupid? What if it's a disaster?" Wendy is the gremlin of anxiety and fear. She is a close cousin of Percy the perfectionist, but while Percy fears judgment on the quality of the work, Wendy fears the catastrophic consequences of the action itself. She is a master storyteller, but all her stories are horror stories. If you need to ask for a raise, Wendy will whisper, "What if your boss laughs at you? What if they get angry and fire you?" If you want to ask someone on a date, Wendy will say, "What if they say no? What if they tell all their friends and everyone thinks you're a loser?" She lives in a future filled with worst-case scenarios. Her job is to make the potential pain of taking action feel so certain and so unbearable that staying put seems like the only sane choice. Interestingly, Wendy can also be a gremlin of success. She might whisper, "What if you actually get the promotion? Then you'll have more responsibility, and you'll definitely screw it up. The pressure will be immense. It's better to stay where you are, where it's comfortable." Fear of success is really just fear of a new, higher stakes kind of failure. Wendy feeds on uncertainty. Any situation where the outcome isn't guaranteed is a playground for her. She hijacks your imagination and uses it against you, painting vivid pictures of humiliation, rejection, and disaster. She's the reason you rehearse difficult conversations in your head 100 times, but never actually pick up the phone. If you find your mind constantly jumping to the worst possible outcome and it stops you from taking a chance, you are in the grip of Wendy the Worrier. Gremlin number 4. Terry the Thrill Seeker. Terry's motto is, "I work best under pressure. I'll do it when the deadline is closer." Terry is the sneakiest gremlin of them all because he masquerades as a strength. People who are friends with Terry often brag about their ability to pull all-nighters and get things done at the last possible second. They get a rush from the adrenaline spike that comes with a looming deadline. The panic focuses the mind, and they manage to get it done. The problem is that this is a highly inefficient and stressful way to live. The work produced under this kind of duress is rarely your best work. It's just good enough work. You don't have time for creativity, for careful review, or for thoughtful execution. You only have time to put out the fire. Terry the Thrill Seeker is essentially an adrenaline junkie. He finds the normal day-to-day process of working on a task to be mind-numbingly boring. He craves the high of the emergency, so he convinces you to wait and wait and wait until the gentle pressure of a future deadline becomes the screaming panic of an immediate one. Only then does the task become stimulating enough for him to engage. Living with Terry means a life of wild swings between boredom and panic. There is no calm, steady progress. It's a roller coaster of your own making. And while you might get the task done, the cost is immense. Chronic stress, poor quality work, and the constant anxiety of knowing you are always just one step away from a missed deadline and a real disaster. If you tell yourself you need the pressure to perform and consistently leave important tasks to the last minute, you are listening to Terry the Thrill Seeker. Gremlin number 5. Ryan the Rebel. Ryan's motto is, "You can't make me." Ryan is the gremlin of defiance. He hates being told what to do. The interesting thing is, it doesn't matter who is doing the telling. It could be a boss, a partner, or even you. Ryan rebels against any feeling of obligation or control. This gremlin often appears when a task is assigned to you by someone else. Your boss gives you a project, and even if it's a reasonable request, a part of you bristles. Ryan whispers, "They can't just dump this on me. I'll do it on my own schedule, not theirs." Procrastination becomes a way of asserting your autonomy and control. It's a passive-aggressive way of saying, "I'm in charge here." Even more subtly, Ryan can rebel against the plans you make for yourself. You put, "Go to the gym at 6 p.m. on your own calendar." When 6 p.m. rolls around, you feel perfectly capable of going. But Ryan pipes up, "Don't you feel bossed around by your own calendar? Who is it to tell you what to do? Let's show it who's boss by staying on the couch." It's an irrational but powerful urge to resist structure, even when that structure is designed for your own benefit. Ryan's resistance often stems from a feeling that you lack control in other areas of your life. Delaying a task is one small way to feel powerful and in the driver's seat. If you find yourself getting annoyed by to-do lists and feeling a stubborn resistance to tasks you know you should do, you might be dealing with Ryan the Rebel. Gremlin number 6, Charlie the Comfortable One. Charlie's motto is, "This is boring and unpleasant. I'd rather do literally anything else." Charlie is perhaps the most straightforward of all the gremlins. He's not driven by deep fears or a need for control. He is simply the voice of your toddler brain's pure, unadulterated desire to avoid boredom and discomfort. He shows up for the chores of life, doing the dishes, folding the laundry, filling out tedious paperwork, or completing a mind-numbing spreadsheet for work. There is no complex psychological drama with Charlie. The task is simply not fun, and your brain would prefer a hit of dopamine from a more enjoyable activity. Charlie is the gremlin who negotiates with you. Okay, let's just watch one YouTube video first and then we'll do the dishes. But one video turns into 5 and 2 hours later, the dishes are still in the sink. He is the master of productive procrastination. When faced with a boring but important task, Charlie will suddenly inspire you to do other, less important but more engaging tasks. Suddenly, organizing your bookshelf or color-coding your files seems like the most urgent priority in the world, all to avoid the one truly important but boring thing on your list. If you find that you can be highly productive on things you enjoy but can't bring yourself to start the mundane but necessary tasks, you are well acquainted with Charlie the comfortable one. Time to identify your gremlins. Read through those descriptions one more time. Which voices sound the most familiar? Do you see yourself in the endless preparations of Percy the perfectionist? Do you feel the paralysis of Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer? Are you haunted by the catastrophic stories of Wendy the worrier? Do you ride the adrenaline wave with Terry the thrill seeker? Do you fight for control with Ryan the rebel? Or are you simply trying to escape the mundane with Charlie the comfortable one? Most of us are a blend of a few, but we usually have a dominant one that causes most of our problems. Knowing its name is your first victory. It's the difference between fighting a mysterious shadow in the dark and facing a known opponent in a lit room. You can't outsmart an enemy you can't see. Now you can see them. In the coming chapters, we will learn the specific strategies to counter each of these gremlins. We will learn how to shrink Ollie's mountain into a small pebble, how to fact-check Wendy's horror stories, and how to prove to Percy that done is far better than perfect. For now, your only job is to listen. The next time you feel the urge to procrastinate, pause for a moment and ask yourself, which gremlin is talking right now? Just by asking the question, you are beginning to take back control. You are stepping out of the role of the victim and into the role of the observer. And from that place of observation, you can begin to choose a different response. Chapter 3. Forgive yourself for yesterday. The power of self-compassion. There is a secret second punishment that comes with procrastination. The first punishment is the task itself, which hangs over your head, creating a low-grade hum of anxiety. But the second punishment is the one we inflict on ourselves. It's the voice of the inner critic that kicks in the moment we choose delay. You're so lazy. Why can't you ever just get things done? You failed again. What's wrong with you? Everyone else is so much more disciplined than you are. This self-flagellation feels productive, doesn't it? It feels like we're taking the problem seriously. We believe on some deep level that if we are hard enough on ourselves, if we shame ourselves enough, we will eventually be motivated to change. We treat ourselves like a drill sergeant would treat a lazy recruit, believing that this harshness is the key to whipping ourselves into shape. But what if this strategy, the one most of us have been using our entire lives, is not only ineffective, but is actually the very thing that keeps us stuck? What if self-criticism isn't the cure for procrastination, but is instead the fuel that feeds it? Imagine this scenario. You planned to spend Sunday afternoon working on an important project. Instead, you fell down a rabbit hole of internet videos and got nothing done. As Sunday evening arrives, the dread sets in, followed closely by the inner critic. You spend the next few hours beating yourself up, feeling waves of guilt and shame. You go to bed feeling defeated and worthless. Now, it's Monday morning. How do you feel? Do you wake up energized, motivated, and ready to tackle that project? Of course not. You wake up emotionally hungover. The shame and guilt from the night before have drained your mental and emotional resources. You feel tired and discouraged. The project now feels even more daunting because it's associated not just with the original difficulty, but also with all the negative feelings of your failure from yesterday. And when you feel that drained and discouraged, what is your toddler brain going to scream for? More avoidance, more comfort, more procrastination. This is the procrastination guilt spiral. 1. You procrastinate to avoid a negative feeling. 2. You feel guilty and shame yourself for procrastinating. 3. That guilt and shame is a powerful negative feeling that drains your motivation. 4. With your motivation depleted, you are now even more likely to procrastinate to avoid the task. And so the cycle repeats, getting worse each time. Self-criticism is the engine of this spiral. It is the opposite of a motivator. It is a depressant. It's like trying to get a car out of the mud by revving the engine so hard that you just dig the wheels in deeper. The way out of the mud is not more force, it's more traction. And in the world of human psychology, the ultimate source of traction is a concept that might sound soft, but is in fact one of the most powerful tools for performance and resilience you will ever learn. Self-compassion. The strategic power of kindness. Let's be very clear about what self-compassion is and what it is not. Self-compassion is not self-pity. Self-pity is wallowing in your problems and thinking, "Poor me." Self-compassion is acknowledging your suffering with a desire to heal it. Self-compassion is not self-indulgence or making excuses. It's not saying, "It's okay that I didn't do it, I guess I'll just never do it." It is not letting yourself off the hook. In fact, research shows it does the exact opposite. Dr. Kristin Neff, a researcher at the University of Texas at Austin and the world's leading expert on self-compassion, has conducted study after study demonstrating its power. In one study, participants were given a difficult test they were designed to fail. Afterward, one group was given instructions that prompted self-compassion, while the other was not. When given the chance to study for a second, similar test, the self-compassionate group spent significantly more time studying. They were more motivated to try again and improve. The self-critical group was so discouraged by their failure that they were less motivated to even try. Self-compassion isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about creating the optimal emotional state to take responsibility. It gives you the emotional resilience to face your mistakes, learn from them and get back on the horse. Your inner drill sergeant makes you afraid to fail again. Your inner compassionate friend gives you the courage to try again. Dr. Neff breaks down self-compassion into 3 simple, actionable components. Let's look at how to apply them directly to a moment of procrastination. Component 1. Self-kindness versus self-judgment. This is the most intuitive part. It means treating yourself with the same care and concern you would show to a good friend. Imagine your best friend calls you, sounding distressed. They say, "I had all day to work on my application for my dream job and I just couldn't do it. I wasted the whole day. I'm such a loser. I'm going to fail." What would you say to them? Would you say, "Yeah, you are a loser, you totally blew it, what's wrong with you?" Of course not. You would be kind. You would be supportive. You might say something like, "Hey, be easy on yourself. That sounds really tough. That application is a huge deal and it's normal to feel scared or overwhelmed by it. It doesn't mean you're a loser. It just means this is important to you. Let's figure out a small next step." Self-kindness is simply turning that same voice inward. Instead of the harsh drill sergeant, you activate the wise, kind friend. It's about changing the tone of your inner dialogue from one of attack to one of support. Component 2. Common humanity versus isolation. When we procrastinate and fail, our immediate thought is often, "I'm the only one who is this messed up." We feel profoundly alone in our struggle, as if everyone else on the planet is a master of productivity, and we are the single, lonely failure. This feeling of isolation is incredibly painful and a huge driver of the shame spiral. Common humanity is the antidote. It is the gentle, powerful recognition that suffering and personal inadequacy are part of the shared human experience. Everyone struggles. Everyone feels like a failure sometimes. Everyone procrastinates. You are not a weird, broken exception. You are a normal human being having a normal human struggle. Dr. Tim Pykel, the researcher we met in Chapter 1, calls procrastination a quintessentially human failing. It's part of our wiring. When you remind yourself of this, you take the personal sting out of it. It's not a me problem, it's a we problem. This realization instantly reduces the shame and makes the problem feel much more manageable. You are not alone on a deserted island of failure. You're in a giant boat with millions of other people who are also trying to figure out how to row. Component 3. Mindfulness versus over-identification. Mindfulness, in this context, means acknowledging your negative thoughts and emotions without getting swept away by them. It's about holding your feelings in a balanced awareness. The opposite of this is over-identification. This is when you don't just have a feeling, you become the feeling. You don't just feel like you failed, you are a failure. You don't just feel disorganized, you are a disorganized person. When you over-identify with the negative emotion, it consumes your entire reality. Mindfulness creates a little bit of space between you and your feelings. It allows you to observe your thoughts and emotions without judging them. You can notice, there is a feeling of guilt arising, or I am having the thought that I am lazy. Notice the language. You are not guilty. You are experiencing a feeling of guilt. You are not lazy. You are having a thought about laziness. This small shift in perspective is monumental. It allows you to see that your feelings and thoughts are just transient mental events, like clouds passing in the sky. They are not you, and because they are not you, you don't have to be controlled by them. A practical exercise, your self-compassion break. This is an exercise you can do anytime you catch yourself in the act of procrastination, or more likely, when you are beating yourself up after a bout of it. It directly uses Dr. Neff's 3 components. Find a quiet place. Put a hand over your heart to activate a soothing physical response and say these 3 things to yourself, either silently or out loud. This is a moment of suffering. This is mindfulness. You are simply acknowledging the emotional pain of the moment without judgment. You are naming the stress, the guilt, the anxiety. You're not trying to fix it yet, just recognizing that it's there and it hurts. Suffering is a part of life. This is common humanity. You are reminding yourself that you are not alone. Other people feel this way. This struggle connects you to the rest of humanity rather than isolating you from it. It's okay to not be okay. May I be kind to myself in this moment? This is self-kindness. This is where you actively offer yourself a bit of grace. You can follow it up with whatever feels right. May I accept myself just as I am? Or may I give myself the compassion that I need? This entire break can take less than a minute, but its effect can be profound. It stops the shame spiral in its tracks. It is a pattern interrupt. It brings warmth and support into a situation that is normally filled with cold self-criticism. It doesn't magically do the task for you, but it recharges your emotional battery, making it possible for you to get up and try again. Forgiveness is not about condoning your past inaction. It is about freeing your future self from the burden of it. You cannot build a new future if you are constantly being punished by your past. Today you must forgive yourself for yesterday. Forgive yourself for the time you wasted, the opportunities you may have missed, the promises you broke to yourself. You did the best you could with the tools and the emotional state you had at that time. Today you are learning to use a new tool. That tool is kindness. Your drill sergeant has been firing you for years and it hasn't worked. It's time to let him go. It's time to hire a new coach, a compassionate mentor. Your new mantra is not, "What's wrong with me?" It's, "This is hard. What do I need right now to help myself move forward?" The answer will never be more shame. The answer will always be a dose of compassion, a moment of grace and the permission to start again right now, free from the weight of yesterday. Chapter 4. The 1% Rule, Trading Perfection for Progress. Let's talk about 2 of our gremlins from Chapter 2, Percy the Perfectionist and Ollie the Overwhelmed Dreamer. These 2 are a powerful duo. Ollie makes a task look like an impossibly huge mountain, and Percy insists that you must leap to the summit in a single, flawless bound. The result? You stand at the bottom, paralyzed, and do nothing at all. This paralysis comes from a toxic mindset that many of us think is a virtue, the all-or-nothing mindset. It sounds like this: I don't have 3 hours to go to the gym for a full workout, so I guess I'll just do nothing. I can't write the whole chapter today, so I won't even bother opening the document. Cleaning this whole house would take the entire weekend, so I'll just live in the mess. All-or-nothing thinking sets the bar for success so impossibly high that nothing becomes the most likely outcome. It creates a binary world where you are either a perfect success or a total failure. There is no middle ground. There is no room for good enough. There is no credit given for small efforts. And in this harsh world, it's often safer to choose to be a failure by default, by doing nothing, than to risk being a failure by effort, by trying and not meeting the impossibly high standard. This chapter is about systematically dismantling that mindset. We are going to replace it with a new rule that is gentle, powerful, and the absolute kryptonite to perfectionism and overwhelm. We call it the 1% Rule, the astonishing power of tiny gains. The 1% Rule is a simple concept. popularized by James Clear in his best-selling book Atomic Habits. The core idea is that small, seemingly insignificant improvements, when done consistently over time, lead to staggering results. We often convince ourselves that massive success requires massive action. We think we need a quantum leap, but the reality is that real lasting change comes from the compounding effect of tiny habits. Improving by just 1% isn't noticeable. It might even feel pointless, but that tiny gain compounds. Clear uses a stunning mathematical example. If you can get just 1% better each day for 1 year, you'll end up 37 times better by the time you're done. Conversely, if you get 1% worse each day, by making a poor choice, by skipping a habit, you'll decline down to almost zero. The point isn't the exact math. The point is the principle. Small improvements are not just small improvements. They are the seeds of remarkable transformation. They are like a snowball at the top of a hill. Pushing it the first few inches is a small act. But as it rolls, it gathers more snow, more mass, and more momentum, until it becomes an unstoppable avalanche of progress. The all-or-nothing mindset looks for the avalanche on day one. The 1% rule understands that you have to start by packing a small, unimpressive snowball. The goal is no longer to write my book. That's an Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer goal. The goal is no longer to write a perfect first chapter. That's a Percy the perfectionist goal. The new goal is simply to get 1% better at writing your book today. So, how do we do that? We do it by mastering the art of the ridiculously small step. How to define your 1%. The key to applying the 1% rule is to break your intimidating task down into a next action that is so small, so simple, and so easy that it is almost impossible to say no to. The goal is to make the starting friction so low that your toddler brain doesn't even have time to throw a tantrum. It should feel less like a chore and more like a tiny, insignificant gesture. So let's get practical. Here is how you find the 1% action for your dreaded tasks. Take your big, scary goal and ask yourself this question. What is a ridiculously small action that moves me forward, even by a millimeter? An action so small it feels silly. Let's run some common procrastination magnets through this process. Scary task. Write a 20-page report for work. Percy the perfectionist says, you need a perfect outline and 3 hours of uninterrupted focus time. Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer says, 20 pages. That's a novel. Where do I even begin? The 1% rule says, what is a ridiculously small first step? Your 1% action could be, open a new Word document and type the title. Open your research folder and look at one file for 60 seconds. Write one single crappy sentence, any sentence. Scary task, get in shape. Percy says, you need to find the perfect workout plan, buy new gear, and meal prep for the whole week. Ollie says, gyms, running, yoga, weights, it's too confusing. The 1% rule says, what is a ridiculously small first step? Your 1% action could be, put on your workout shoes and stand by the door. That's it. Do 5 push-ups. Walk to the end of your driveway and back. Scary task. Clean the disastrously messy garage. Percy says, if you can't sort, label, and create a perfect storage system for everything, what's the point? Ollie says, look at this chaos. This will take 40 hours, it's hopeless. The 1% rule says, what is a ridiculously small first step? Your 1% action could be, walk into the garage and pick up one piece of trash and throw it away. Take one item that doesn't belong in the garage and put it where it belongs. Clear a 1-foot square patch on the workbench. Do you see the pattern? We are not trying to accomplish the goal. We are simply trying to make a start. The goal is not to finish, the goal is to begin. We are lowering the bar for success so dramatically that we can't help but step over it. This approach does 2 magical things. First, it bypasses the toddler brain's resistance. An action like, write one sentence, is not scary enough to trigger the flight response. It's manageable. Second, it leverages a powerful psychological principle called the Zeigarnik effect. Our brains have a natural tendency to remember and fixate on uncompleted tasks. Once you start something, even in the tiniest way, you create an open loop in your mind. Your brain will want to close that loop. Writing one sentence often turns into writing a paragraph. Because the mental tension of the unfinished thought pulls you forward. Putting away one dish often leads to washing a few more, because you've already broken the inertia. The first step is a wedge in the door of procrastination. All you need to focus on is getting the wedge in place. An actionable exercise, your 2-column takedown. Get out a piece of paper or open a new note on your phone. Create 2 columns. In the left column, write, "My big scary task." In the right column, write, "My ridiculously small 1% action." Now I want you to list 3 to 5 tasks you've been putting off in the left column. Be honest. Do my taxes. Start my side hustle. Have that difficult conversation with my partner. Now, for each one, go to the right column and define its 1% action. Remember the rule. It should feel almost comically small. It should be an action you could do in under 2 minutes. Let's do one together. Left column. Organize my thousands of digital photos. Right column. Find and delete 3 bad photos. Or create 1 new folder and label it 2023. Or log into my photo account. Fill out your list. This list is not a to-do list that you must complete. It is your new menu of options. The next time you have a spare moment and feel the pull of procrastination, you don't have to face the big scary task. You just have to look at your menu and pick one of your ridiculously small 1% actions. This is how you trade perfection for progress. Progress is not a giant leap. It's a series of tiny steps taken consistently. Each tiny step is a victory. Each victory builds confidence. Each bit of confidence makes the next step easier. This is how you build momentum. This is how the snowball starts to roll. You have to let go of the fantasy of being the person who wakes up one day and heroically transforms their entire life in 24 hours. That person doesn't exist. The real hero is the person who wakes up and chooses to take one small, unimpressive, but meaningful step forward, and then does it again the next day. Your job is not to conquer the mountain in a day. Your job is to take one step, just one. Today you will not try to be perfect. You will simply try to be 1% better than you were yesterday. That is a goal you can achieve, and it is the only goal that truly matters. Chapter 5, Rewriting Your Story, from "I'm a procrastinator" to "I'm a person who acts." Let me ask you a question. Who are you? When you think about your relationship with getting things done, what is the story you tell yourself? For many of us, the story sounds something like this. "I'm just a procrastinator. I've always been this way. I leave things to the last minute. It's just part of who I am." This story feels true because you have a lifetime of evidence to support it. Every missed deadline, every late-night scramble, every task avoided. They are all chapters in the biography of you, the procrastinator. And this story, this identity, is one of the most powerful forces keeping you stuck. There's a deep-seated need in the human psyche for our actions to be consistent with our identity. Our brains crave coherence. If you believe at your core that you are a procrastinator, your brain will subconsciously look for ways to make that true. It will guide you toward choices that confirm your story. When faced with a task, a small part of your mind will think, "Well, a procrastinator would put this off, so that's what I'll do." It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You act like a procrastinator because you believe you are one, and you believe you are one because you act like one. It's a perfect, inescapable loop. Trying to change your habits without changing your underlying identity is like trying to paint a house without ever prepping the walls. The new paint might stick for a little while, but eventually the old flaky surface beneath will cause it to peel right off. Lasting change doesn't come from just changing your actions. It comes from changing the person you believe you are. The goal isn't just to stop procrastinating. The goal is to become the type of person who doesn't procrastinate. The goal is to fundamentally rewrite your story, outcome-based versus identity-based change. Most people approach change with an outcome-based mindset. They focus on what they want to achieve. I want to lose 20 pounds. Outcome. I want to write a novel. Outcome. I want to have a clean house. Outcome. There's nothing wrong with these goals, but they don't address the underlying identity. A more powerful approach is to focus on who you wish to become. I want to be the type of person who is healthy and active. Identity. I want to be a writer. Identity. I want to be an organized person. Identity. Do you feel the shift? The first set of goals are temporary destinations. The second set are ways of being. When your identity shifts, your actions naturally follow suit to align with that new belief. You no longer have to force yourself to go to the gym. You go because that's what a healthy, active person does. You don't have to strong-arm yourself into writing. You write because you are a writer. Each action is no longer a chore you have to do, but an affirmation of who you are. That sounds great, you might be thinking, but I can't just magically declare myself an organized person and have it be true. I have a mountain of evidence that says I'm the opposite. You are absolutely right. You can't just change your identity by wishing it. You change it by proving it to yourself, one small piece of evidence at a time. Casting votes for your new identity. Imagine there's an election going on inside your head. The two candidates are the procrastinator and the action taker. Every single action you take is a vote for one of them. When you hit the snooze button instead of getting up to work on your goal, you cast a vote for the procrastinator. When you decide to watch one more episode instead of tackling that chore, you cast a vote for the procrastinator. When you put off the difficult conversation for another day, you cast a vote for the procrastinator. But the reverse is also true. Every time you take a positive action, no matter how small, you are casting a vote for your desired identity, the action taker. When you use the 1% rule and put just one dish in the dishwasher, you cast a vote for being an organized person. When you use the 5-minute Lifeline, which we'll cover in the next chapter, to work on your project, you cast a vote for being a finisher. When you lay out your gym clothes the night before, you cast a vote for being a healthy person. A single vote will not win the election. You can't do one push-up and believe you are an athlete. That's not how it works. Your brain needs proof. It needs a body of evidence. But with every vote you cast, the evidence begins to shift. One vote becomes 2, 2 become 10, 10 become 100. Eventually, you build up such a compelling case for your new identity that you can't help but start to believe it. The scales tip. Your new story starts to feel more true than the old one. The beauty of this approach is that it reframes the entire purpose of your small actions. The goal of putting one dish in the dishwasher is not just to have one less dish in the sink. The real goal is to cast a vote for, I am an organized person. The goal of writing one sentence is not just to have one sentence written. The real goal is to cast a vote for, I am a writer. This gives these tiny, seemingly insignificant actions a profound new meaning. They are the building blocks of your new self, the key tool, your evidence journal. To make this process conscious and deliberate, you need a tool. This tool is simple but incredibly powerful, the evidence journal. It's also sometimes called an action log or a done list, which we will revisit later. Here's how it works. Get a physical notebook or a dedicated digital note. The physical act of writing can be more powerful, but do whatever is easiest for you to maintain. At the end of every single day, your task is to write down at least one piece of evidence, one vote, that you gathered for your new identity. That's it, just one. Even on your worst days, you can find one thing. Let's say your desired new identity is, I am a person who finishes what they start. Your evidence journal entries might look like this. Monday. I wanted to leave my coffee cup on the counter, but I rinsed it and put it in the dishwasher immediately. Vote cast for being a finisher. Tuesday. I felt a huge wave of resistance to working on the Nelson proposal, but I opened the file and worked on it for just 5 minutes. Vote cast for being a finisher. Wednesday. A bad day, didn't get much done, but I did take out the recycling when I said I would. Vote cast for being a finisher. Thursday. I wrote one email that I had been putting off all week. It felt great to hit send. Vote cast for being a finisher. Notice a few things. The actions are small, they are not monumental achievements. The power is not in the size of the action, but in the consistency of acknowledging it. You are training your brain to hunt for evidence of your success, not evidence of your failure. For years, your brain has been an expert at spotting all the ways you lived up to the procrastinator label. The evidence journal retrains its focus. It's a cognitive behavioral tool that actively rewires your perception of yourself. This is not about lying to yourself. It's about being a fair judge. It's about acknowledging that even on a day when you procrastinate on 10 things, you probably still did 5 things you could have put off. You are simply choosing to put your focus and emotional energy on the wins, no matter how small. Start today. What is the new identity you want to build? Is it action taker, finisher, consistent person, creator, doer? Choose one. Now think about your day so far. Can you find one tiny piece of evidence, one small vote you have already cast? Maybe you got out of bed without hitting snooze. Maybe you answered one text message you'd been ignoring. Write it down. If you can't find one yet, don't worry. Before you go to sleep tonight, perform one ridiculously small 1% action and then write it down in your journal. This is the start of your new story. You are not erasing the old story. You are simply starting to write a new, more compelling one on top of it. You are not a procrastinator. You are a person who is in the process of becoming an action taker, and you have the evidence to prove it. Chapter 6. The 5-Minute Lifeline, your secret weapon against inertia. Have you ever stood in front of a task like it was a brick wall? You stare at it. You know you need to get over it, but it looks so high, so solid, so impossible. The very thought of starting is exhausting. The sheer activation energy required to begin feels like more than you have. This is the moment of pure inertia. It's the moment your body feels heavy, your mind feels foggy, and the siren song of your couch and phone seems irresistible. It's in this exact moment that most battles with procrastination are lost before they even begin. We try to argue with ourselves. I should do this, I need to do this, why am I not doing this? We try to summon a tidal wave of motivation from a dry well. But what if you didn't need a tidal wave? What if all you needed was a single drop of water to get things flowing? I'm about to give you the single most effective, most versatile, and most powerful practical tool in this entire book. It is the master key that can unlock the door of any task, no matter how much you are dreading it. It is your emergency button for inertia, your secret weapon against the frozen state of overwhelm. It's so simple it sounds like a trick, but its power lies in its profound understanding of how your brain works. We call it the 5-Minute Lifeline. The rule is this: commit to working on your dreaded task for only 5 minutes, that's it. That's the entire strategy. You don't commit to finishing it, you don't commit to doing a good job, you don't even commit to working on it for 6 minutes. You find the task you are avoiding, you set a timer on your phone or your stove for 5 minutes, and you give it your undivided attention for that tiny window of time. Here is the most important part of the rule, the part that makes it magic. After the 5 minutes are up, you have full and complete permission to stop. Guilt-free, you can stand up, walk away, and go back to doing whatever you were doing before. If you work for 5 minutes and then stop, you have not failed. You have succeeded, you have won the round. You have successfully used the 5-Minute Lifeline. Why this almost too simple trick is so powerful? To your thinking brain, your logical time traveler, this might sound silly. What can you possibly accomplish in 5 minutes? But you're not trying to convince your thinking brain. You are performing a clever bit of psychological jujitsu on your emotional reactive toddler brain. The 5-Minute Lifeline works because it systematically dismantles the main barriers to starting. First, and most critically, it melts away resistance by lowering the stakes to almost zero. Think back to our toddler brain from Chapter 1. Its job is to protect you from things that feel threatening or unpleasant. When you face a task like write the 20-page report, the toddler brain sounds the alarm. Danger, huge effort, potential failure ahead. The threat feels massive, so the resistance is massive. But what happens when the task is work on the report for 5 minutes? The threat is tiny, it's almost laughable. Even the most stubborn toddler brain has a hard time throwing a tantrum over 5 minutes. It's such a low-stakes proposition that the fear and anxiety don't have time to get a grip. It's too small to be scary. It requires so little activation energy that it feels easy. You are lowering the bar for entry so much that you can't help but step over it. The wall becomes a curb. Second, the 5-Minute Lifeline creates a powerful open loop in your mind. This is a real psychological phenomenon, sometimes called the Zeigarnik effect, named after the psychologist who first studied it. Zeigarnik noticed that waiters in a restaurant had a much better memory of the orders that were still in progress, the open tabs, than of the ones that had already been paid for and completed. Our brains are wired to fixate on incomplete tasks. They create a kind of low-level mental tension that seeks resolution. An unfinished story nags at us, A cliffhanger at the end of a TV show makes us desperate to see the next episode. When you work on something for just 5 minutes, you are intentionally creating one of these open loops. You are starting the story. You are opening the tab. Even if you stop after 5 minutes, the task is no longer a vague, untouched horror. It is now a work in progress. It has a foothold in your mind. This mental tension is what often makes the thought of continuing far easier than the thought of starting was in the first place. More often than not, you'll find that once the 5-minute timer goes off, you're in the groove. You've already overcome the inertia. The hardest part is over, and you might just think to yourself, well, I'm already here, I might as well go for another 5 minutes. This is how 5 minutes of drudgery can effortlessly turn into 30 minutes of focused work. Third, every time you successfully use the 5-minute lifeline, you are casting a powerful vote for your new identity. Remember our goal from the last chapter? To rewrite your story from I'm a procrastinator to I'm an action taker. Even if you only work for 5 minutes, you did not procrastinate. You took action. You showed up. You can write in your evidence journal, I didn't want to do it, but I did it for 5 minutes. That is a clean, undeniable win. It's a piece of evidence. And these small, consistent wins are what build the self-belief and momentum that lead to lasting change. The goal of the 5-minute lifeline isn't to finish the project in one sitting. The goal is to prove to yourself that you are the type of person who starts. How to use your lifeline, a step-by-step guide. Let's make this as practical as possible. Here is your protocol for when you feel stuck. Step 1. Identify the resistance. Notice that you are avoiding a specific task. Name the gremlin if you can. Is it Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer? Percy the perfectionist? Don't get stuck here. Just a quick acknowledgement. Okay, I'm feeling totally overwhelmed about cleaning the kitchen. Step 2. Define your 5-minute mission. Reframe the task into a 5-minute version. Be specific. Not clean the kitchen, but I'm going to wipe down the counters for 5 minutes. Not work on my novel, but I'm going to sit and have my writing document open for 5 minutes and maybe type a sentence. Step 3. Set an external timer. This is crucial. Don't just estimate 5 minutes in your head. Use your phone, your watch, a kitchen timer, a website. The physical act of setting a timer signals a clear beginning. The external beep at the end gives you a clear finish line and reinforces the idea that your commitment is finite and contained. Step 4. Single task. For those 5 minutes, and only for those 5 minutes, you do nothing else. No checking your phone, no glancing at email pop-ups, no getting up to get a snack. Give that one tiny mission your full undivided attention. If you get distracted, gently bring your focus back to the task until the timer rings. Step 5. Make a conscious choice. When the timer goes off, stop. Literally, stop. Take your hands off the keyboard. Put the sponge down. Take a deep breath. Now assess how you feel. The hard part is over. You have already won. Now you have a choice. You can say, great, I did my 5 minutes, I am done for now, and walk away feeling proud. Or you might find that you've broken through the wall of resistance and feel a desire to continue. If so, you can choose to reset the timer for another 5, 10, or 15 minutes. The choice is yours. There is no wrong answer. Real-world lifelines for your biggest procrastination triggers. On exercising. The resistance. I don't have the energy for a full hour-long workout. The 5-minute lifeline, I will put on my workout clothes and do jumping jacks in my living room for 5 minutes. On writing that big report essay book, The Resistance, I don't know where to start. I'm not inspired. The 5-minute lifeline. I will open the document, read over the last paragraph I wrote, and then try to write just one new sentence. On cleaning the house, The Resistance. The whole place is a disaster. It's too much. The 5-minute lifeline. I will pick one surface, the coffee table, the kitchen counter, and I will clear and wipe it down for 5 minutes. On tackling your finances to taxes. The Resistance. This is so boring and stressful, I don't want to face it. The 5-minute lifeline. I will get out my folder of receipts and just sort them into 2 piles for 5 minutes. On making a difficult phone call. The Resistance. I'm too anxious, I don't know what I'll say. The 5-minute lifeline. I will take out a piece of paper, And for 5 minutes, I will just jot down the 3 main points I want to make in the call. I will not make the call. I will just prep for it. The 5-minute Lifeline is your universal solvent for the feeling of being stuck. It is a tool of profound self-compassion. It says, I know this is hard for you. I know you're feeling resistant. Let's just try it for a little bit. We can always stop. It respects the fear of your toddler brain, while gently nudging you in the direction your time traveler wants to go. It is a commitment so small that it is almost impossible to fail, and in that, it guarantees a victory. And in the fight against procrastination, a small daily victory is infinitely more powerful than the dream of a huge, distant triumph. Stop waiting for motivation to strike you like lightning. Motivation is not a cause, it's an effect. It is the child of action, not the parent. So I have a question for you. What is one thing you are putting off right now? Can you spare 5 minutes? Not for me, not for the sake of the task, but as an act of kindness to your future self, and as a vote for the action taker you are becoming. Find your task, set your timer. The wall is waiting. Let's see how easy it is to walk through it. Chapter 7, The Art of the Good Enough Plan, How to Tame the Overwhelm. Let's check in with one of our most popular gremlins, Ollie the Overwhelmed Dreamer. Ollie's specialty is taking your big, exciting, ambitious goals and making them feel like a suffocating weight. You want to start a business, learn Spanish, or organize your life. These are beautiful aspirations, but to your brain, they are not actionable instructions. They are giant, foggy clouds of ambiguity. And your brain hates ambiguity. When a task is vague and enormous, your brain goes into a state of paralysis. It's like being dropped in the middle of a vast desert and being told to find water. The sheer number of possible directions is so overwhelming that the most likely response is to sit down in the sand and do nothing at all. This is the feeling of being overwhelmed. It's not that you're incapable of the task, it's that you don't have a clear, simple map for the very next step. Procrastination in this context is a direct result of a lack of clarity. We delay not because we are lazy, but because we are confused. Our time traveler brain, the part that makes plans, gets short-circuited by the sheer complexity of the goal, and our toddler brain happily takes over, leading us to the simple, clear, and immediate comfort of distraction. The antidote to this form of procrastination is a powerful and liberating concept. Clarity is kindness to your future self. Giving yourself a clear, simple, and small next step is one of the most compassionate things you can do to overcome overwhelm. This chapter is about becoming a master of one thing, breaking down your intimidating elephants into bite-sized, manageable pieces. It's about learning the art of the good enough plan, the trap of the perfect plan. First, we must deal with Ollie's best friend, Percy the perfectionist. Percy will tell you that before you can start, you need the perfect plan. You need a color-coded, multi-tabbed spreadsheet. You need to have every single step of the journey mapped out from beginning to end. You need to anticipate every possible obstacle and have a contingency for it. This is a trap. The perfect plan is a form of procrastination in disguise. It makes you feel productive. You spend hours planning, researching, and strategizing. But you are not actually producing anything. You are just spinning your wheels in the mud of preparation. The truth is, a perfect plan is an illusion. The world is unpredictable. You will encounter challenges you couldn't have foreseen. Your priorities might change. An ugly, simple, good enough plan that you can act on today is infinitely more valuable than a beautiful, comprehensive, perfect plan that keeps you stuck in the starting blocks forever. Our goal is not to create a flawless map of the entire continent. Our goal is to figure out how to take the first step out the front door. To do this, we have 2 primary techniques. Technique 1, the salami slice method. You would never try to eat a whole salami in one go. You would get a knife and slice off one thin piece, then another, then another. This is precisely how we must approach our large projects. We need to stop looking at the whole salami and start focusing only on the next slice. This means taking your huge, vague goal and breaking it down into progressively smaller and more concrete pieces. Let's take a classic overwhelming project, plan a family vacation. Staring at that on your to-do list is enough to make you want to take a nap. It's a giant uncut salami, Let's slice it. The first big slice, phases, the main stages of the project. Decide on a destination and budget. Book travel and accommodation. Plan activities and itinerary. Prepare for the trip, packing, etc. This is better, but decide on a destination and budget is still a pretty thick slice. Let's slice that piece again. The second slice, tasks. The main tasks within a phase. Hold a family meeting to discuss ideas. Research top 3 potential destinations online. Create a draft budget for each destination. Choose the final destination. Now we're getting somewhere. Hold a family meeting feels much more doable than plan a vacation, but we can go even further, especially if we're feeling a lot of resistance. Let's take the task, research top 3 potential destinations, and slice it into razor-thin pieces. The third slice, subtasks or next actions. The tiny physical actions to complete a task. Open a new Google Doc and title it Vacation Ideas. Set a timer for 15 minutes. Search for best family vacation spots in July. Copy and paste the links to 3 interesting articles into the Google Doc. Now look at that last item. Copy and paste the links to 3 interesting articles. That is a ridiculously small, clear, and achievable action. There is no ambiguity. You know exactly what to do. It would take less than 5 minutes. This is a bite-sized piece. This is an action that defeats overwhelm. The salami slice method is your tool for mapping out the general direction. It gives you a sense of structure and control. But for breaking through the paralysis of the immediate moment, we need an even more focused tool. Technique 2. The first step, focus. This technique is for when you are truly stuck. It's when even looking at the salami slices feels like too much. The first step, focus, asks you to forget about the entire project. Forget about step 10, forget about step 3, forget about even step 2. Your entire world, your entire focus, shrinks down to one single question. What is the absolute, very first physical action I need to take to begin? The key word here is physical. Our brains often get stuck on abstract verbs like plan, organize, learn, or write. These aren't physical actions. You can't physically organize. You can, however, physically pick up a shirt off the floor. You can't learn Spanish. You can open the Duolingo app on your phone. The goal is to translate your vague intention into a concrete movement you can make with your body. It's about finding the leading edge action. Let's practice translating vague goals into first step physical actions. Vague goal, write the marketing proposal. First step, focus. Open my laptop, launch Microsoft Word, and click New Document. Vague goal, do my taxes. First step, focus. Walk to the filing cabinet, open the drawer labeled Finances, and take out the folder labeled 2023 Taxes. Vague goal, start meditating. First step, focus. Take my phone, open the App Store, and type Meditation app into the search bar. Vague goal, clean the kitchen. First step, focus. Walk to the sink, pick up one dirty plate, and turn on the water. The power of this question is that it makes it impossible to be confused. There is always a first physical step, always. By focusing only on that one single movement, you remove all the mental clutter of the larger project. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to know the answer to one question. What do I do right now? This is the ultimate kindness to your overwhelmed brain. It gives it one, and only one, command to follow. And once you take that first physical step, the second one almost always reveals itself. Taking the folder out of the cabinet leads to opening it. Opening the new document leads to typing a title. The first step builds the momentum for the second. An actionable exercise, your project breakdown. I want you to try this right now. Pick one major project or goal from your life that makes you feel overwhelmed, the one that Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer whispers in your ear about. Got it? Now, grab a piece of paper or open a note. At the top, write the name of the project in all its big, scary glory. For example, launch my new Etsy shop. First, do a quick salami slice. What are the 3 or 4 major phases? Create the product line. Take product photos and write descriptions. Set up the Etsy store itself. Develop a marketing plan. Good. Now, Ignore phases 2, 3, and 4 completely. They don't exist right now. Look only at phase 1. Create the product line. This is still a bit vague. Now apply the first step focus. What are the first 3 tiny physical actions you would need to take to begin creating your product line? Don't write down a whole plan, just the first 3 steps. Take the sketchbook and my favorite pen out of the drawer and place them on my desk. Open Pinterest in a web browser and type handmade clay earring ideas into the search. Spend 10 minutes looking at pictures and making a list of 5 shapes I like in the sketchbook. This is your new plan, not the big scary plan. This small, clear, good enough plan. This is your map for today. It tells you exactly what to do next. It is actionable, it is clear, and it is kind. Stop waiting to feel less overwhelmed. Overwhelm is not a feeling you can think your way out of. It is a feeling you must act your way out of. Clarity is the weapon, and a small, concrete next step is the first strike. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You just need to focus all of your energy and attention on the single step right in front of you. Take that step. That is how mountains are moved. Chapter 8. Design your anti-procrastination fortress, engineering your environment for success. For most of our lives, we have treated the battle against procrastination as a battle of willpower. We believe that if we just had more self-control, more discipline, more grit, we would be able to conquer our tendency to delay. We see someone who is incredibly productive, someone who works out every day, eats healthy, and finishes their projects on time. And we think, wow, they must have superhuman willpower. This is one of the biggest and most disempowering myths about productivity. Productive people don't necessarily have more willpower than you. What they often have is a better designed environment. Think about it this way. Imagine you are trying to quit eating cookies. In scenario A, you live in a house where fresh-baked cookies are always sitting on the counter, filling the air with their delicious scent. In scenario B, the nearest cookie is at a store a 10-minute drive away. In which scenario are you more likely to succeed? The answer is obvious. In scenario A, you would need to exert a heroic amount of willpower every single time you walk through the kitchen. You would be in a constant state of resistance. Eventually, on a day when you are tired, stressed, or just a little bit hungry, your willpower will crack, and you will eat the cookie. In scenario B, the thought of a cookie might cross your mind, but the effort required to get one, getting your keys, getting in the car, driving to the store, is usually enough to make you think, hey, it's not worth it. The secret is not that the person in scenario B has more willpower. The secret is that their environment does most of the work for them. They have made the bad habit difficult and the good habit, not eating cookies, easy. This is the fundamental principle of environmental design. Willpower is a finite, exhaustible resource. It's like a muscle that gets tired with overuse. Every decision you make throughout the day, from what to wear to how to respond to an email, depletes your willpower reserves. Trying to rely on willpower alone to fight procrastination is like trying to hold a beach ball underwater. You might be able to do it for a little while, but eventually your arms will get tired and the ball will pop right back up to the surface. A smarter strategy is to stop fighting an endless battle against temptation and distraction. A smarter strategy is to become the architect of your own environment, consciously designing a space that makes your desired actions easier and your undesired actions harder. You're going to build yourself an anti-procrastination fortress. The 2 levers of environmental design, friction and flow. To build your fortress, you only need to understand and use 2 simple concepts, friction and flow. Friction is anything that makes a task harder to do. It's a barrier, a hassle, an extra step. Getting in the car to drive to the store is friction. Having to log into a website with a complicated password is friction. Flow is the opposite. It's anything that makes a task easier and more seamless. It's the path of least resistance. Having fresh fruit in a bowl on the counter creates flow for healthy eating. Having your running shoes right by the door creates flow for a morning run. Our toddler brain is fundamentally lazy. It wants to conserve energy. It will almost always choose the path with the least friction. Right now, your environment is likely designed to create maximum flow for distractions and maximum friction for focused work. Your phone, with its endless notifications and entertaining apps, is a frictionless portal to procrastination. Your work project, which might require finding a specific file on a cluttered desktop, has friction. The toddler brain will choose the phone every time. Our job is to reverse this. We will use two levers. Lever 1, increase friction for your distractions. The goal here is to make your procrastination habits less convenient. You want to put a few pebbles or even a few boulders in the path of your worst time wasters. Every extra step you add is another chance for your thinking brain to intervene and ask, is this really what I want to be doing right now? Let's get practical. Here is a checklist for increasing friction on your biggest distractions. Your phone. This is enemy number 1 for most of us. Move distracting apps off your home screen. Put them in a folder on the last page. This adds the friction of having to swipe and search for them. Turn off all non-essential notifications. Every buzz or banner is a tiny friction-free invitation to get derailed. Log out of social media apps after each use. The friction of having to re-enter your password can be a powerful deterrent. The ultimate move. When you need to focus, put your phone in another room. The physical distance is the most effective form of friction you can create. Create a phone jail, a box in the kitchen where your phone lives during work hours. Your computer. Use a website blocker app, like Freedom, Cold Turkey, or Self-Control. Set it to block your most visited distracting websites during your work hours. This creates an impassable wall. Close all unnecessary tabs. A clean browser is a focused browser. Create a separate user account on your computer for work and play. The work account has no games, no social media bookmarks, just the tools you need to focus. The friction of having to log out and log back in can keep you on task. Your physical environment. If the TV is a distraction, put the remote in a drawer in another room. If you snack out of boredom, move the junk food to a high shelf at the back of a cupboard and put the healthy snacks at eye level in the front. If video games are your escape, unplug the console and put the controller in a box after each use. The goal is not to eliminate these things from your life forever. It is to make them intentional choices rather than mindless defaults. Lever 2. Decrease friction for your good habits. Now we flip the script. We want to make our desired actions, the things we tend to procrastinate on, the easiest and most obvious things to do. We are paving a smooth downhill path for our good habits. Here is your checklist for decreasing friction on your important tasks. For work or creative projects, prepare your workspace the night before. This is called setting up for your future self. If you want to write in the morning, open the laptop, launch the word processor, and open the specific document you're working on before you go to bed. When you sit down, there is zero startup friction. You can just begin. Create a project box. If your project requires specific tools, notebooks, pens, books, etc., keep them all together in one dedicated box. You don't have to waste energy and focus hunting for supplies. Bookmark important websites and keep your digital files obsessively organized in a simple folder system. The less time you spend looking for things, the more time you can spend doing things. For health and fitness, lay out your workout clothes, shoes, and water bottle the night before. When you wake up, your first step is already laid out for you. If you want to eat more healthily, spend an hour on Sunday pre-chopping vegetables so they are ready to be thrown into a salad or stir-fry. Keep a filled water bottle on your desk at all times. For learning or reading, if you want to read more, leave the book you want to read on your pillow in the morning. When you go to bed, it will be the first thing you see. If you are learning a language, put a sticky note with 5 new vocabulary words on your bathroom mirror. The guiding principle is simple. Prime your environment to make the starting of a task as thoughtless as possible. An actionable exercise, your friction audit. Pick one habit you want to build, a do habit, and one habit you want to break, a don't habit. Your do habit, for example, write for 15 minutes each day. Your don't habit, for example, mindlessly scrolling Instagram. Now answer these 2 questions. What are 3 ways I can decrease the friction to start my do habit? Example: A. I will charge my laptop and open my writing document before I go to bed. B. I will put a glass of water on my desk next to my laptop. C. I will create a specific writing music playlist so I don't have to search for music. What are 3 ways I can increase the friction to start my don't habit? Example: A. I will move the Instagram app to a folder on the last page of my phone screen. B. I will set a 15-minute daily time limit for the app using my phone's screen time settings. I will make a rule to not have my phone in the same room as me during my writing time. Take a few minutes and do this for yourself. This is not just a thought exercise. This is a blueprint for your fortress. You are not lazy. You are just living in an environment that is working against you. Stop blaming your character and start redesigning your context. A person with iron willpower is often just a person who doesn't have to use it very often because they've made good choices, the easy choices. You are the architect of your world. Build a world that serves your goals, not your distractions. Build a fortress where focus is the default and procrastination is the inconvenience. Chapter 9. The energy equation, fueling your action engine. Imagine you have a brand new, top-of-the-line sports car. The engine is a marvel of engineering, the aerodynamics are perfect, and the onboard computer is state-of-the-art. You have the skills to drive it like a professional. Now imagine you fill its tank with sand and sludge. What happens? The car sputters, stalls, and ultimately goes nowhere. It doesn't matter how perfect the car is or how skilled the driver is. With the wrong fuel, the system fails. In our journey to overcome procrastination, your mindset is the engine. The tools and techniques from this book are your driving skills, but your physical body is the car itself, and the energy you put into it is your fuel. We often treat our minds and bodies as separate entities, but they are an intricately connected system. You cannot expect a high-output, focused mind to run on a low-quality, depleted body. Procrastination is not always a deep psychological issue. Sometimes it is simply a symptom of physical exhaustion. When you are tired, hungry, or dehydrated, you enter a state of decision fatigue. This is a real psychological phenomenon where the sheer number of choices you make in a day, from the trivial to the monumental, wears down your capacity for self-control and rational thought. Your thinking brain, the time traveler, gets tired. And when it gets tired, your impulsive toddler brain, which runs on pure emotion and a desire for ease, takes the wheel. In a state of decision fatigue, your brain will always choose the path of least resistance. It will choose the couch over the gym, the social media scroll over the challenging report, the I'll do it later over the I'll do it now. Therefore, managing your physical energy is not an optional add-on to overcoming procrastination. It is a non-negotiable foundational pillar. If you want to fuel your action engine, you need to become a conscious manager of your body's three core energy sources: sleep, fuel, and movement. Pillar 1. Sleep, the brain's janitor. For centuries, we've viewed sleep as a passive state of inactivity, a necessary evil that steals time from our productive waking hours. We brag about pulling all-nighters and surviving on 4 hours of sleep, wearing our exhaustion like a badge of honor. This is one of the most destructive habits of modern life. Sleep is not a passive state. It is an intensely active and critical maintenance period for your brain and body. Think of your brain as a bustling city that operates 24/7. During the day, all its energy goes into running the city, thinking, feeling, moving. At night, a special cleanup crew comes on duty. This is not just a metaphor. During sleep, a system in your brain called the glymphatic system kicks into high gear. It works like a plumbing system that flushes out metabolic waste products that accumulate in your brain during the day. One of these waste products is a protein called beta amyloid. If this protein is not cleared out effectively, it builds up and creates a kind of brain fog. It impairs your ability to think clearly, to focus your attention, and crucially to regulate your emotions and exert self-control. Scientists now believe that the buildup of this plaque is a major factor in Alzheimer's disease. When you consistently skimp on sleep, you're essentially forcing your brain to operate in a city where the trash has been piling up for days. Your prefrontal cortex, your thinking brain, is the first part to suffer. This is the part responsible for willpower, planning, and impulse control. A sleep-deprived brain is an impulsive brain. It is a brain that is far more likely to give in to the short-term temptations of procrastination. The actionable step: treat sleep as a sacred, non-negotiable part of your productivity system. It is not a luxury, it is a necessity. Prioritize a consistent wake-up time, even on weekends, to regulate your body's internal clock. Create a power-down routine in the hour before bed. Turn off screens. The blue light disrupts melatonin production. Read a physical book. Listen to calm music, or do some light stretching. Make your bedroom a sanctuary for sleep. Dark, cool, and quiet. Viewing sleep as your brain's most important maintenance cycle will transform it from a chore into a strategic advantage. Pillar 2. Fuel the blood sugar roller coaster. The food you eat is the literal fuel for your brain cells. Your brain consumes about 20% of your body's total energy, despite being only 2% of its weight. It is an energy hog, but like any high-performance engine, it is highly sensitive to the quality of its fuel. Many of us fuel ourselves on what I call the blood sugar roller coaster. We start the day with a sugary cereal, a pastry, or just coffee. This gives us a quick spike in blood sugar and a burst of energy. We feel great for a little while, but then our body releases a flood of insulin to deal with the sugar, and our blood sugar level crashes. This is the mid-morning or mid-afternoon slump. During this crash, you feel tired, irritable, and foggy-headed. Your ability to concentrate plummets. Your willpower vanishes. In this state, your brain screams for one thing: more quick energy. It craves another hit of sugar or refined carbohydrates to get back up. This is when the urge to procrastinate by snacking on junk food and scrolling through your phone becomes almost irresistible. You are not lazy. Your brain is simply in a low-power state, and it is defaulting to its most primitive drives. The actionable step: stabilize your blood sugar to provide your brain with a steady stream of clean energy. Start your day with protein. Protein digests slowly and provides sustained energy without the spike and crash. Eggs, Greek yogurt, or a protein smoothie are far better choices than a bagel or a sugary cereal. Stay hydrated. Dehydration is a massive and often overlooked cause of fatigue and brain fog. Your brain is about 75% water. Even mild dehydration can impair cognitive function. Keep a water bottle on your desk and sip it throughout the day. Often, the feeling of being tired is actually a sign of thirst. Have healthy snacks ready. Prepare for the inevitable afternoon slump by having good options on hand, like a handful of nuts, an apple, or some vegetable sticks. This prevents you from making a poor, impulsive choice when your willpower is low. You don't need a perfect diet. You just need to be more conscious of how your food choices are directly impacting your brain's ability to perform. Pillar 3. Movement. The pattern interrupt. Our bodies were not designed to sit still in a chair for 8 hours a day. They were designed to move. When we sit for long periods, our entire system becomes sluggish. Blood flow slows down, our posture slumps, and our energy levels dip. We get stuck in a state of physical and mental lethargy. In this state, the thought of starting a new, challenging task feels monumental. Movement is the most powerful, immediate tool you have to change your physical and mental state. It is a pattern interrupt. It breaks the cycle of lethargy and injects a fresh dose of energy into your system. Even a short burst of movement can have a dramatic effect. When you move, you increase blood flow and oxygen to your brain, which instantly improves focus and clarity. You also trigger the release of neurotransmitters like endorphins and dopamine. Endorphins are natural mood elevators, and dopamine is key to your brain's motivation and reward system. A 5-minute walk can literally change your brain chemistry, making you feel more positive, more motivated, and more capable of tackling your to-do list. The actionable step: integrate small bursts of movement into your day, especially when you feel stuck or sluggish. Set a timer to get up and walk around for 2 to 5 minutes every hour. When you are feeling the pull of procrastination, don't fight it by staring harder at the screen. Instead, get up and do 20 jumping jacks, run up and down the stairs, or just put on a song and dance in your living room. The goal is not a workout, the goal is to change your physiological state. Try a walking meditation when you feel overwhelmed by a problem. Pacing around the room while you think can often unlock ideas far more effectively than sitting rigidly at a desk. An actionable exercise: your daily energy inventory. At the end of your day, take 2 minutes to do a quick, non-judgmental inventory of your energy pillars. Ask yourself, on a scale of 1 to 10, how was my sleep last night? What's one thing I could do to make it 1% better tonight? How was my fuel today? Did I ride the blood sugar roller coaster or give myself steady energy? What was one good fuel choice I made? How much did I move today? Did I spend most of it sitting? What's one opportunity tomorrow to use movement as a tool? This isn't about guilt. It's about awareness. It's about starting to connect the dots between how you treat your body and how your brain performs. You cannot win the war against procrastination if your own body is fighting against you. Managing your energy is not another tedious task to add to your list. It is the very foundation that gives you the strength, focus, and resilience to do everything else. Stop trying to run your high-performance life on empty. Fuel your body, and you will find you have all the energy you need to fuel your dreams. Chapter 10. The Power of the Done List, Celebrating Your Wins. Let's talk about the most common tool in the world of productivity, the to-do list. We all use them. We write down all the things we need to accomplish, from buy milk to finish the quarterly report. In theory, it's a great way to get organized. But for many of us, especially those who struggle with procrastination, the to-do list can become a weapon we use against ourselves. Look at your to-do list right now. What is it really? It is a list of all your outstanding obligations. It is a written record of everything you haven't done yet. It is a monument to your unfinished business. Every time you look at it, it quietly reminds you of how much there is to do, how far behind you are, and how you are not yet done. For a brain that is already prone to feeling overwhelmed, looking at a long to-do list can be so anxiety-inducing that it actually triggers procrastination rather than preventing it. It becomes a source of pressure, not a tool for progress. What if we flipped the entire concept on its head? What if, instead of focusing on the vast expanse of what is left to do, we focused on the tangible reality of what we have already accomplished? This is the principle behind one of the most motivating and psychologically rewarding habits you can build, the done list. Sometimes called a Toddler list or an accomplishment log, a done list is exactly what it sounds like. At the end of each day, you take a moment to write down everything you finished, everything you achieved, everything you did. This might sound like a small, even trivial change in perspective, but it is a fundamental shift that works directly with your brain's wiring to build motivation, confidence, and momentum. It is how you start to win the inner game. The science of celebration. Hacking your brain's reward system. To understand why the done list is so powerful, we need to talk about a little neurotransmitter called dopamine. Dopamine is often called the feel-good chemical, but that's not its whole story. More accurately, it is the chemical of motivation and anticipation. Your brain releases dopamine when it expects a reward, which in turn motivates you to do the action required to get that reward. Here's the problem. For many of the important tasks we procrastinate on, the reward is far in the future. The reward for writing a book might be months or years away. The reward for saving for retirement is decades away. Your toddler brain, which craves immediate gratification, gets no dopamine hit from these long-term goals, so it has no motivation to pursue them. It gets a much bigger, faster dopamine hit from the immediate reward of checking social media or watching a video. The done list is a way to manually create a reward system for your daily actions. When you complete a task, even a small one, and you take a moment to consciously acknowledge it by writing it down, you are giving your brain a tiny, immediate reward. You are closing a loop. That act of acknowledgement triggers a small release of dopamine. It feels good, your brain likes it, and because your brain likes it, it starts to associate the action, for example, cleaning the kitchen, with the good feeling of accomplishment. This creates a positive feedback loop. The more you acknowledge your accomplishments, the more your brain craves that feeling, and the more motivated you become to do the actions that lead to it. You are literally rewiring your brain to enjoy the process of getting things done. You are training it to find satisfaction in progress, not just in distraction. This practice also directly reinforces the new identity we talked about in Chapter 5. Your done list is the hard, undeniable evidence for your action-taker identity. At the end of a long day, when your inner critic wants to tell you, you got nothing done, you were so unproductive, you can pull out your done list and say, that's not true. Look, I did these 10 things. It silences the critic with facts. It proves to you day after day that you are becoming the person you want to be. How to build your done list habit. This habit is simple, but its power lies in its consistency. Step 1. Choose your medium. Get a dedicated notebook or a specific note on your phone or computer. A physical notebook can be particularly satisfying because the act of writing by hand can feel more tangible. Title it My Done List or Daily Wins. Step 2. Set a time. The best time to do this is at the end of your workday or right before you go to bed. It's a way of closing out the day on a positive note. Anchor this new habit to an existing one. For example, after I brush my teeth, I will write in my done list. Step 3. Capture everything. No accomplishment is too small to be included. We are not just talking about big work projects. We are talking about the small acts of self-discipline that make up a life. Your list might include: made the bed, wrote in my done list from yesterday, went for a 10-minute walk, drank a full bottle of water, answered the 3 most annoying emails in my inbox, used the 5-minute Lifeline on the report, didn't hit the snooze button, cooked a healthy dinner instead of ordering takeout, put 1 load of laundry away, read 10 pages of a book. The goal is to train your brain to see wins everywhere. You are probably accomplishing dozens of things every day that you never give yourself credit for. It's time to start. Step 4. The crucial ta-da moment. This is the most important step. Don't just mindlessly type out the list. After you write it, read it over. Take a deep breath. Allow yourself to feel a sense of pride and satisfaction. Say ta-da out loud or done or good job. Give yourself a mental high five. This conscious moment of celebration is what solidifies the dopamine reward. It's what tells your brain, this matters. This felt good. Let's do it again tomorrow. An actionable exercise, your first done list. Let's not wait until the end of the day. I want you to start your first done list right now. Take out a piece of paper or open a note. Think about your day so far, from the moment you woke up. What have you accomplished? Did you get out of bed? That's a win. Some days it's hard. Did you make coffee or tea? Did you get dressed? Did you show up to work or school? Did you eat a meal? Did you read this far in a self-help book, actively trying to improve your life? That is a massive win. Write down at least 5 things you have already done today. Look at the list. It's probably longer than you thought. See, you are already an action taker. You just haven't been giving yourself credit. The to-do list and the done list can coexist. The to-do list is your map for the future. It tells you where you need to go. But the done list is your fuel for the present. It reminds you of how far you've already come. On days when you feel discouraged and motivation is low, looking at your done lists from the previous days can be a powerful reminder that you are capable, you are making progress, and you can do it again today. What you choose to focus on is what will grow in your life. If you constantly focus on your shortcomings and your list of unfinished tasks, your sense of overwhelm and failure will expand. If you consciously and consistently shift your focus to your accomplishments and your daily wins, your sense of confidence and capability will expand. Stop letting the to-do list be the only story of your day. Start writing a new story, a story of progress, a story of action, a story that ends every single day with a ta-da. Chapter 11. The Inevitable Setback. How to get back on the horse without beating yourself up. You've been doing so well. For the past week, you've been an absolute model of action. You've used the 5-minute Lifeline to start your dreaded projects. You've engineered your environment, putting your phone in another room and laying out your workout clothes. You've been filling out your done list every night, feeling a genuine sense of pride. You've started to believe deep down that you're actually changing. Your new story, the story of the action taker, is starting to feel real. And then, it happens. The bad day. Maybe it started with a poor night's sleep. Maybe an unexpected crisis at work threw you completely off course. Maybe you just woke up feeling flat and unmotivated for no reason at all. You had a plan, but you ignored it. You spent 2 hours scrolling through social media instead of working. You skipped your walk. You ordered a pizza instead of making a healthy meal. As evening falls, a cold, familiar feeling creeps back in, the heavy cloak of guilt. And the voice of your old inner critic, who has been relatively quiet lately, sees its opening and comes roaring back to life. See? I told you it wouldn't last. You haven't changed at all. You're still the same old procrastinator. All that effort, and you're right back where you started. You're a fraud. This moment, right here, is the most critical juncture in your entire journey. This is where most people abandon their progress and slide all the way back down the mountain. The pain of the setback, combined with the shame of the inner critic, feels so overwhelming that they conclude the entire system is a failure. They conclude that they are a failure. I want you to hear this loud and clear. You will procrastinate again. You will have bad days. You will fall off the horse. A setback is not a possibility. It is a mathematical certainty. It is a non-negotiable part of the process of change for every single human being on this planet. The goal of this book was never to turn you into a perfect, flawless productivity robot. That's an impossible and undesirable standard. The goal is to make you resilient. The master does not differ from the student because they never fall. The master differs from the student because they have learned how to get back up quickly and compassionately, one more time than they have fallen. This chapter is about how to get back up. It's about turning a setback from a verdict on your character into a valuable data point on your journey. The old way versus the new way. Let's first acknowledge the old way of dealing with a setback. The old way is the guilt spiral we've discussed. You mess up, you feel bad, and then you beat yourself up for feeling bad. This self-flagellation drains your energy and motivation, which makes you even more likely to procrastinate the next day to avoid all those negative feelings. It's a recipe for turning a single slip into a week-long slide. The new way, the compassionate and strategic way, involves a two-step process. First, you get curious instead of critical. Second, you make your comeback laughably small. Step 1. Become the curious scientist, not the harsh judge. When you have a bad day, your first instinct is to put on the black robe of a judge, slam the gavel down, and declare yourself guilty. Your job is to consciously and deliberately take off that robe and put on the white lab coat of a curious scientist. A judge is interested in blame and punishment. A scientist is interested in data and understanding. A judge looks for what's wrong with you. A scientist looks for what happened in the system. Your setback is not a moral failing, it is a system malfunction. Your task is to perform a gentle, non-judgmental post-game analysis to figure out what went wrong. The next time you have a bad day, instead of berating yourself, sit down with a piece of paper or your evidence journal and ask yourself these questions with genuine curiosity, as if you were trying to solve a puzzle. Question 1. What was the trigger? Think back to the moment you went off track. What was happening right before? Was it a feeling? For example, I felt a wave of overwhelm when I looked at my to-do list. Was it an energy issue? For example, I had only slept 5 hours, and I hit that 3 p.m. slump hard. This is a direct link to Chapter 9. Were your energy pillars in place? Were you hungry, tired, or dehydrated? Was it an external event? For example, I got a stressful email from my boss that derailed my whole morning. Question 2. Which gremlin showed up to the party? Give the feeling a name. Was it Percy the perfectionist telling you that the conditions weren't right to start? Was it Ollie the overwhelmed dreamer making the project feel like a mountain? Was it Wendy the worrier painting a picture of catastrophic failure? Or was it just good old Charlie the comfortable one wanting to escape a boring task? Naming the gremlin, as we learned in Chapter 2, externalizes the problem and takes away its personal sting. Wendy was really running the show today. Question 3. How did my environment contribute? Look around. Was your environment set up for success or failure? My phone was on my desk buzzing away. I made it too easy to get distracted. I hadn't prepared my work area the night before, so the friction to get started was really high. The TV was on in the background, which slowly eroded my focus. This is about taking responsibility for your fortress design, as discussed in Chapter 8, without blaming your character. Question 4. What story did I tell myself? What was the narrative running through your head? I told myself, I'll just watch one video first, knowing full well that's a lie I tell myself. I told myself, I deserve a break, and turned a 5-minute break into a 3-hour one. I told myself, I'm just not in the mood today. I'll be more inspired tomorrow. Recognizing the story is the first step to rewriting it. Question 5. What is one small thing I could try differently next time this happens? This is the most important question. It shifts you from the past to the future. It turns a failure into a lesson. The answer shouldn't be, "I'll try harder," or "I'll have more willpower." It should be a concrete strategic adjustment. Next time I feel overwhelmed by my to-do list, I will immediately use the 5-minute lifeline on just one item. Next time I sleep poorly, I will acknowledge that my willpower will be low, and I will intentionally lower my expectations for the day, focusing only on my one most important task. Next time I get a stressful email, I will get up and walk around the block for 5 minutes to clear my head before deciding what to do next. This entire process should take no more than 10 minutes. Its purpose is to transform a moment of shame into a moment of learning. You are gathering precious data about your own personal triggers and patterns. A setback is no longer a failure. It is a free lesson in self-awareness. Step 2. Obey the never two in a row rule. After your analysis, you have one more job. It is the most important rule for building any new habit and for cementing your new identity as an action taker. The rule is never miss twice. You can have a bad day. You can eat the junk food, skip the workout, and procrastinate on your project. You are human and it will happen. But you are not allowed to do it 2 days in a row. One bad day is an anomaly. It's a mistake. It's a data point. 2 bad days in a row is the beginning of a new habit. It's the start of a slide. 2 bad days in a row is your brain gathering evidence for your old story. See, I knew you were still a procrastinator. Therefore, the day after a setback, your single most important priority is not to be perfect. It's not to catch up on all the work you missed. Your single priority is to get one small symbolic win on the board to break the streak of inaction. Your goal is simply to show up. If you skipped your workout yesterday, your goal today is not to do an hour-long grueling session. Your goal today is to put on your shoes and walk for 10 minutes. You just need to cast one vote for, "I am a person who moves my body." If you avoided your big project all day yesterday, your goal today is not to work on it for 3 hours. Your goal today is to use the 5-minute lifeline. Just 5 minutes. You just need to cast one vote for, "I am a person who finishes what I start." If you ate nothing but junk food yesterday, your goal today is not to eat a perfectly clean diet. Your goal today is to eat 1 piece of fruit or 1 serving of vegetables. You just need to cast one vote for, "I am a person who nourishes my body." The never two in a row rule saves you from the all or nothing mindset. It understands that the journey is not a straight line. It is a jagged path, moving generally forward. The key is to make your stumbles small and your recovery immediate. An F1 car will sometimes spin out on a turn. The difference between a champion driver and an amateur is not that the champion never spins out. It's that they know how to correct the spin instantly, get the car pointing forward again, and get back on the accelerator, having lost only a few seconds. The amateur stays in the spin, panics, and often ends up crashed against the wall. Be the F1 driver. When you spin out, don't panic, don't curse yourself, correct. Get curious, analyze the data from the spin, point yourself forward, and gently apply the gas by getting one small win. Your new identity is not fragile. It can withstand a bad day. What it cannot withstand is a pattern of bad days, so protect it. On your worst days, on the days you feel most like a failure, remember that your only job is to break the streak. Get back on the horse, even if it's just for a 5-minute walk around the paddock. That one small act of getting back on is what separates the person you used to be from the person you are now becoming. Conclusion: your new beginning, living a life of action. We have reached the final pages of our journey together, but in reality this is not an ending. It is a starting line. The purpose of this book was never just to give you information, it was to hand you a set of keys. The door in front of you is the rest of your life. A life where you are in the driver's seat. A life where you are no longer a passenger being carried along by the whims of procrastination, and a life lived by default. It is now up to you to turn the key. Let's take a moment to look back at the path we've traveled. We started by dismantling the most damaging myth about procrastination, the idea that it is a character flaw. You now know the truth. You are not lazy. You have simply been using a misguided strategy to deal with difficult emotions. Procrastination is not a failure of willpower. It's a problem of emotional regulation. This single insight changes the entire game, shifting you from a place of shame to a place of strategy. You met your procrastination gremlins, giving a name and a face to the specific fears that have held you back. You learned to counter their whispers, not with force, but with the profound, performance-enhancing power of self-compassion. You discovered that forgiving yourself for yesterday is the only way to free yourself to act today. You have thrown out the toxic, all-or-nothing mindset and replaced it with the gentle, compounding power of the 1% rule. You now know that the path to the mountaintop is not a single heroic leap, but a long series of small, steady, and achievable steps. You understand that done is infinitely better than perfect. Most importantly, you have started the process of rewriting your core identity. You know that every small action is a vote cast for the person you want to become. You are no longer just trying to do things. You are in the business of becoming an action taker, gathering evidence for this new identity every single day with your powerful done list. And you have built a practical, real-world toolkit to make this all happen. You have the 5-minute Lifeline, your emergency weapon against inertia. You have the art of the good enough plan to tame any overwhelming project. You are now an architect of your own environment, capable of designing a fortress that defends your focus. You understand that your physical energy is the fuel for your mental engine, and you know how to manage it. And you now have a compassionate, strategic plan for the inevitable day when you stumble, allowing you to get back up quickly, without judgment. You have everything you need. But let's ask one final, crucial question. Why does any of this matter? The goal of overcoming procrastination is not to become a productivity machine churning out work in a joyless, robotic fashion. The real goal, the reason you picked up this book in the first place, is freedom. It is the freedom from the constant, low-grade anxiety of unfinished tasks humming in the background of your life. It is the freedom from the heavy guilt that steals the joy from your moments of leisure because you know you should be doing something else. It is the freedom to be fully present with your loved ones, without your mind being cluttered with the things you've been putting off. It is the freedom to trust yourself again, the freedom that comes from knowing that when you make a promise to yourself, you will keep it. This is about reclaiming the mental and emotional space that procrastination has been occupying for years. And what will you do with all that newfound space? Perhaps you will finally write that novel that has been living in your head. Perhaps you will start the business you've been dreaming of. Perhaps you will learn that language, take up that instrument, or plan that adventure. Or perhaps it will simply be about the quiet, profound peace of ending each day with a sense of accomplishment and calm, knowing that you have taken care of your responsibilities and can rest without a single "I should have" echoing in your mind. The path forward is simple, but it is not always easy. Your gremlins will not vanish overnight. Your old habits will try to creep back in when you are tired and stressed. But you are different now. You are no longer fighting in the dark. You have a flashlight, a map, and a compass. You know the way. You are no longer a victim of your own mind. You are its compassionate leader. You are no longer a procrastinator. That is your old story, a story that no longer serves you. You are a person who understands their own emotions. You are a person who chooses progress over perfection. You are a person who builds momentum through small, consistent wins. You are a person who can design their world to support their goals. You are a person who gets back up again and again. You are an action taker. Our time together is over, but your new beginning starts now. It starts with a single choice, so I leave you with one final challenge, the same one from the very beginning. What is the one small 5-minute action you will take right now, as soon as you put this book down, to cast the first vote of the rest of your life? Choose it, set your timer, and begin.